Hi everyone and welcome to the Graphic and Communication Design Taster session today. So my name is Claire Nattrass and I'm Programme Leader of the Graphic and Communication Design course, and I teach alongside 3 other tutors and we all have our specialisms in the graphic design industry. So you'll cover quite a broad range of skills on the course, from advertising to branding to printmaking to bookmaking to digital and photography. You'll do lots of stuff to do with professional practice, skills in freelancing, and contextual knowledge and dissertation as well. So when you're on first year of the course, we have a module called Print and Bookmaking Workshops. So you get to make all these wonderful books like these, and these are all screen printed covers, so you can make your own covers, which are fab. We've got concertina books here, which fold out really well, and you can do sort of back and front designs on there. Great for storyboarding. We've got quarter bind hardback books, which are lovely, sort of notebooks and sketchbooks. These are just smaller little handmade sketchbooks, again with your own screen printed covers that you could potentially do, and you could use these for lots of different things. But today I'm going to show you how to make a pamphlet book. So you might want to do this at home and follow along, and you might be able to substitute some of the equipment if you don't have it all at home. But you can just follow along, get a taste of what the session might be when you join the group. So first, what we need to do is get 6 pieces of paper, and what I've got is a measurement roughly of 150 by 190. You don't have to do it in that size, you can do it in whatever size you would like, but that's the measurements that I'm using. And you want to get 6 bits of paper. 5, 6. Okay, so we've got 6 bits of paper. Make sure they're all the same size. That one's a bit smaller. And that one is as well. Let me just get the same size. Let's go from the back. There we go. So we've got 6 nice even slices of paper, and what we're going to do is choose a lovely front cover and make our front cover page. So in college here we've got loads of different paper designs which are fab and beautiful. We use a company called Esme Winters, so she does beautiful design paper that we sort of buy in. And if you've got a cutting mat, that would be great because it lends to lots of straight lines. You want a ruler and you want a sharp knife, so a Stanley knife out of a toolbox at home maybe, or a scalpel, which I've got here. If you don't have a cutting mat, it's good to use a surface that isn't too slippy. You want to have a nice sort of some friction going on so your paper doesn't slide away from you. Now what's good about a cutting mat is it's measured for you, so each square is a centimetre. So what I'm going to do is just work to the top left edge and cut out the same size as my paper. So I'm going to get it nice and lined up at the top edge and down the left hand side. There we go. Right. Pencil, have we got a pencil in here? No, I'll just take one from behind. Right, so I'm just going to gently mark on here where this is going to go up to. Like that. And I'm going to get my steel ruler and my scalpel. Now the reason we use a steel ruler is because the scalpels are obviously very sharp. If you had a sort of rubber ruler or one of those flexi rulers, the scalpel could go into it and then, you know, maybe potentially scratch you or cut you. So we use a steel ruler, so it's a bit more nice and secure. And you're just gonna make sure you're on the straight at the top and cut down. So you hold the ruler nice and tight and just cut down to where you marked your point. Now we never cut like this side, we always cut north to south. So to cut the next bit, we'll turn the paper around. Again, line up the top with the top of your lines here on your cutting mat so you know that you're nice and straight. Like so. And I'm just going to cut down. Now you might be thinking, why are books necessary to graphic and communication design? So the modules that we teach you, sort of photography and digital, you could do a lovely photography book. Lots of photographers, it's their bread and butter to do photography books. Like Ed Rushka, Michael Bland, Ian Howarth, they do beautiful photography books that you can have a look at. You might do a branding sort of brief for a fashion house and create a lookbook with lots of fashion photography in, or branding ideas for them. You might just want to make a really lovely sketchbook to hand in and work in. Or in second year you do a visual storytelling brief and you might make a graphic novel or a comic or design some book jackets or something like that. So books are really relevant to graphics. It's a method of dissemination. It's a method to be able to communicate your work really effectively. So once you've got your front cover with your 6 pages, what you need to do is fold it in half. Now at uni we use bone folders. If you're at home you could potentially use a butter knife, something that isn't sharp that's going to scratch the paper. Maybe a spoon or something like that, but yeah, we use these bone folders. And what you want to do is fold the book in half so the edges of your outside patterned paper are sort of meeting in the middle there, so they kind of meet back and front cover. Give it a tap on the cutting mat to sort of level it out. Pinch it with your left hand, lay it down on the mat or on your surface, and you want to take the bone folder or maybe a butter knife and go bottom up like that, bottom up a couple of times, and it just gives you that lovely spine. I think what we try and avoid is just sort of folding the book in half because you'll never get it even. That's why we like using these. So just score that out really nicely. Okay, so you've got your book in half. Now what we do is we grab what we call a cradle, which is one of these things. If you don't have a cradle, you could go up against the edge of a table, I think. So you find the middle page, like so. Find that middle page. And what we're going to do is put a template in the middle of the book on that middle page. And we're going to punch some holes in it to be able to stitch the book together. So you could go up against the corner to maybe get that kind of, so you can pierce through quite flat. If you've got anything that you can sort of pierce down in that can hold the book, that would be even better. So what we'll do, you position the book at the top of the cradle, to the edge of the cradle, and get your template nicely positioned in that spine. So it kind of looks like this. And we use an awl, so something very sharp, to punch the holes. Now we don't want to punch the holes too drastically because you'll get big holes in the books. You just want to be really careful with it and do it really delicately. So this little template that I've got, it's just to be able to measure where those holes go. So the book that I'm making is a 5-holed stitch, it's called. It's always an odd number of holes. We always need a middle hole. So whatever size your book is, you just measure the length of your book divided by 6 and you'll get the spacing to how you're going to punch each hole, where you're going to punch each hole. But make sure you've always got a middle hole. Now you remove your template and then you've got these lovely holes punched in the centre of your book. And what's really good is they're right on the crease. And that's what you want, them to be right on that crease. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is choose a thread that we think suits the pattern of the book. So there's quite a few colours in college that are quite nice, but these are my own that I've sort of brought in. Oh, that's quite nice. So I like the dark green. I'm going to choose the dark green and get myself my scalpel. Now you don't want much thread. You could just use any cotton thread that you've got at home. This is special book binding thread. You just need to chop some off. And then we're going to thread the needle. Now just grab any thread that you've got at home and the needle. And try and sort of get it through. Need steady hands. Yeah. Now there is a trick you can do with the needle to stop the thread coming off of it. So if you grab the end of your needle, grab the end of the thread and sort of push it between your two fingers, your thumb and your index finger, and push through the middle of the thread like that. It's a bit fiddly, but you can tie a knot in your thread so it doesn't ever fall off the needle, which is quite handy when you're doing books. So the first thing to do is to go down through the middle hole and leave a bit of a space, leave a bit of a stretch of thread which you can grab with your thumb. Come back up through the second, like that. Then back down to the first, so down through the first. And then back down into the second. There we go. And then you miss the middle hole, so you go down to the fourth and into the fourth, and then through the fifth, and then back down to the fourth. And then when you come back up through the middle hole, what you want to do is come back up on the opposite side to where you've got that middle thread there, and we've gone down through the right hand side, so I want to come up through the left, so you've got a thread either side of that long middle thread there. So what I'll do is I'll come up through that middle hole and I'll try and move that middle thread out the way so I can come up to my left hand side. So if you see, I've got a thread on either side of that middle hole. Now what we want to do is cut off that extra thread like that, and you're going to tie this in a knot, double knot. So tie down one way and then tie over the other way like that. And then traditionally in Japanese bookbinding, they get some sharp scissors and they cut off the middle tag. So let me find some. If I can just use my knife. So you just want to cut off and leave a few inches like that. Okay, so that's traditional sort of Japanese bookbinding. Right, so we've potentially got our book, but now we need to neaten it up a little bit. So it's time to get your bone folder back, or your sort of butter knife. And what you can do is you can push those holes back in. So we sort of push them towards the thread again, it sort of closes them up a little bit. And rescore your book, because obviously you've had it open. You can rescore your book down. Okay, so we just want to make sure that it matches up and it's nice and neat either side. So what we can do is I'm using my cutting mat, and I'm gonna just make sure that each side and the foredge is really nice and neat. So I'm going to put it to the line on my cutting mat so I know I'm straight. Got a straight edge going on. And I'm going to just measure where that first hole is on the top of the book and make sure it's roughly the same as the bottom hole. So that's kind of 26 and that's about the same, so that's perfect. You can chop these edges if you would like to get them a bit neater. In fact, I'm going to do it. So I'm going to sort of take a couple of centimetres, a couple of millimetres off the top edge and the bottom edge. So I'm going to line up. Now, you want your ruler really nice and straight. So I'm using this line on the cutting mat, top and bottom, to get my line really straight. Right, hold down with a lot of pressure and think about sort of just cutting into something very slowly, like scooping butter or something. You don't want to cut through all of the layers at once. You just want to gently take your time with it. And this is the way to get a really clean edge. Now I'm using quite a sharp scalpel here. This is a surgeon's scalpel that I've bought. That's it. So you should get a really nice, crisp, clean edge. Always spine at the top. So you cut in that at the top. So then we flip the book because we always want to cut it with spine at the top. We don't want to cut it this way because then all this will flick forward, so we always have spine at the top there. And I'm going to do the same to this edge, so I'm going to line up my ruler with the cutting line here and here, so it's nice and straight and flush. I'm going to do exactly the same again, so lots of pressure on the ruler. And eventually you'll get through all the pages. It'll be nice and neat. That's a nice clean edge. Then we need to do the same to the forehead because we've got that creep, which is fine. We get what's called creep every time we fold the book over, so it's about getting rid of that. So we want the spine down the left hand side. Line it up at the top edge and the corner edge, the side edge, so you know you're working very straight. And we're going to just cut off the minimum. Line it up again with the top and bottom. So it's great if you're doing a module to do with storytelling or graphic novels or photography books, and then it's really lovely to have your own book made to hand in, rather than buying a book to do it in. You can make your own. So a nice lovely clean edge like this. So we've kind of got our book with middle page like that, and then what we do is we just get this lovely corner cutter, put our book into the corner cutter, and then we've got lovely cornered edges. And that's it. So that's how to make a pamphlet book. Very simple. And that's the most basic book to make that we make, and it doesn't take that long to do. It's fairly easy. You could do your own print-made, sort of screen printed covers, and then we get more complex as we go, sort of working with these ones. Your own printmaking. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and please send me any that you make through the Instagram. So we've got a York College Graphics BA Instagram page. If you have a go at making this at home, tag us in and send us a message of what you've made. And yeah, we hope to see you in September.